Hello and welcome everyone to the e-course EMF Solutions for Your Health. This is lesson number 1. Welcome to the e-course and tips on how to use this course. In this lesson, I will be introducing you to the course content, what you will learn, what you can expect, the various topics we'll be covering, and some special tips for how to navigate the course.
So welcome everybody. It's really my pleasure to work with you, share some of the information I have from over the years, and I also learn from all of you. And I really appreciate working with people like yourself who are interested in your health, interested in reducing electromagnetic fields, making a cleaner environment for us all, and perhaps helping others with the same. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Michael Neuert. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering, a Master of Arts degree in psychology, and I've been a licensed C10 electrical contractor here in California for almost 3 decades. And in this time, for these almost 3 decades of my professional experience, I've been reducing EMFs for clients. This includes hands-on experience helping thousands of clients, including hundreds of highly sensitive individuals who I consider are teachers about EMFs, since my official start in 1992. But perhaps most important, what makes this course unique? So a couple things to consider. For one, this entire course is grounded in science and engineering, practical solutions. Second, it's grounded in experience. I have actually installed all of the solutions that we're going to be talking about here. This is not just me theoretically thinking what would work. This is actually my experience over more than 28 years of repairing EMFs, of shielding EMFs, of turning off circuits, all the different things working with people. And maybe one of the most important things is I'll be offering you in some cases here a challenging second opinion. There's a lot of information out there about EMFs, what to do about it, what it means. And there's some information out there that maybe is less trustworthy or maybe biased or maybe just, often well-meaning and intentioned, but often incomplete when people don't understand the whole thing about what EMFs are about. So in some cases, you'll be getting some second opinions of what you might have heard out there about what works, when it works, where it works, why certain solutions work, and also like what doesn't work, when certain things don't work, why some things don't work, because it often is not just this always works or that never works. It's often something in between there in certain situations. This shielding kind of helps in this situation and makes it worse, things like that. And one of the biggest things is understanding electric fields. So the biggest thing that's missed by most people, even trained people, about electromagnetic fields is not really understanding electric fields. Electric fields is one of the 3 main types of EMFs. And most people have heard of radio frequency fields. That's all the wireless things, of course. And magnetic field, which is, for instance, the kind of EMF that's been linked to cancer for kids living near power lines. But there's a lot of misunderstanding about electric fields. And once you understand electric fields, you can start to explain many of the controversies that are out there about EMFs, many of the different opinions, why earthing works for this person but makes another person sick, why dirty electricity devices in some cases make some people feel better, and then sometimes even the same person in a different situation feel worse. Almost all this has to do with the electric fields. So unfortunately, there's very little understanding about electric fields. So a big part of this course that you'll be getting that you may not find anywhere else is a very good grasp of electric fields, what they're about, and how they affect us. And of course, all this is based on decades of actual experience, and especially what I've learned with my highly sensitive clients over the last 28 years. So, general outline of the training course, there's 7 parts. Each part is approximately 2 hours long, give or take a little bit. Part 1 is about EMFs, being aware of what EMFs are. Part 2 is particular about magnetic fields. Part 3 is particularly about radio frequency fields, abbreviated RF. This includes 5G, the new kind of radio frequency fields that are showing up. Part 4 is all about electric fields. We just talked about that sometimes helps solve a lot of the controversies out there when you understand electric fields. Part 5, EMFs on steroids. This is basically all about dirty electricity, another topic that's very misunderstood in a lot of cases. Part 6, EMF health, some of the things people do for their health and how to put it all together, all these different kinds of EMFs and how do you test a house. And Part 7, EMF summary and bonus modules, and that is a very important part. So to give you a little detail, in Part 1, we'll be looking at in Lesson 2, what are EMFs, the 3 kinds of EMFs, what is electromagnetism, and even a little bit about the theory, things like frequency and wavelengths, so you can have a little idea about what we're talking about. Lesson 3 is about the health effects. So we're introducing the health effects from EMFs, the biological mechanisms involved, how EMFs actually affect us. We'll be starting to get into EMF sensitivity, sometimes called EMF hypersensitivity, where people are having symptoms related to EMFs. And we'll introduce some case studies, actual clients who have had EMF issues and what was done about those issues and what the end product was for those people. Part 2 is focusing on magnetic fields, one of the 3 main kinds of EMFs. We talk about why to test the magnetic fields, the ELF and VLF, the 2 different types, the type of test instruments, the testing protocols, exposure level guidelines, common sources for the magnetic fields. And then we're, of course, most important, we're getting in how to reduce those magnetic fields. For instance, shielding, what shielding works, what shielding doesn't work. And an update on what are the best test meters for testing magnetic fields. And each section has an additional support video section. And this can be helpful here. Like in this case, under magnetic fields, there'll be a collection of videos that are about wiring, electrical wiring, one of the big sources of magnetic fields. It'll show how I go about as an electrician, sometimes fixing and repairing these kind of things might be helpful for your own electrician. So the additional support videos are something that you may choose to watch every one of those videos. You may choose to watch none of those videos, or you may pick out the ones that are appropriate for you. So for some people, they'll actually be watching almost every additional support video. It depends on what you want to get out of the course and what your particular interests are. Part 3, radio frequency fields. So what are these RF fields, and why must we test such a wide range of frequencies? And some of the test meters and the testing protocols, the common sources, and we start to look at how to reduce those RF fields, introduction to the shielding materials, shielding methods. And then in Lesson 4, we're going to specifically get into 5G, some of the common 5G frequencies being used, and the test meters that are appropriate for 5G. In Lesson 5, we'll go into details about the type of features you need to get an RF test meter. For testing, for radio frequency fields, a good test meter is essential. So depending on your price range, the e-course will help you decide what kind of test meter you need and want. In Lesson 6, some specific up-to-date test meters as I recommend at this time for radio frequencies. And again, there's going to be more videos and demonstrations, client examples in the additional support videos for Part 3 on radio frequency fields. In Part 4, this is the section on electric fields. So we'll be going into Lesson 1, what are electric fields and why they are so important. In Lesson 2, why we use a body voltmeter as the recommended test meter for testing electric fields. You actually test the voltage on your skin. You are the antenna for the meter. Lesson 3, testing protocols, so the proper ways to do the testing, exposure levels, common sources of electric fields, and Lesson 4, how to reduce those electric fields, including shielding materials and the methods for doing that. And again, additional support videos. You'll find more videos there with more information, not included in the 4 lessons, for those of you who want more demonstrations, more examples, things that might interest you. Part 5, EMFs on steroids. This is basically steroids. I mean, EMFs kind of gone crazy. This is basically dirty electricity, which you may or may not have heard about. So lesson 1 is where you mix radio frequencies and ELF frequencies. These are lower frequency, two different kinds of fields together. That's basically dirty electricity. You're kind of mixing two kinds of EMFs. And that's probably what maybe makes it kind of troubling. So lesson 2, what is dirty electricity? And the 6 types of dirty electricity, which is very interesting because here again is something that this course will show you, something that most people do not understand or know, even the people doing dirty electricity testing and selling the equipment. There are actually 6 different types of dirty electricity. And the standard meters out there, like the Stetzer meter or the green wave meters for measuring DE, actually only measure one of the 6 types of dirty electricity. So it can be a little misleading to use that one type of instrument and then think you've solved the whole problem. And there's 5 other kinds of DE, 5 other kinds of dirty electricity that most people do not test or even know is there. So that's a really important part of this course in part 5. In lesson 3 of part 5, we'll look at dirty electricity testing, how to reduce dirty electricity. In lesson 4, we'll be looking at dirty electricity testing and mitigation by electricians. So in lesson 4 here, we're looking at the things that electricians can do a little bit beyond the average person, but very important for dealing with dirty electricity. Lesson 5 will be a demonstration of some of the dirty electricity filtering products and my electrician's protocol for a client's home. We'll actually be demonstrating in a particular client's case what happened and the way I figured out how to put in filters, what kind of filters, how many, and where, that kind of thing. Lesson 6, pulsed modulated radio frequencies, health dangers and sources. This is where we have radio frequency fields. This is not dirty electricity. This is the wireless fields, and where they are being pulsed and modulated at lower frequencies. So the radio frequencies that we now receive from things like cell towers, cell phones, Wi-Fi, baby monitors, all the kinds of things out there, it's not just a radio frequency, it's a pulsed modulated radio frequency. So there's actually other frequencies involved, which kind of turns it into like a mixture of 2 different kinds of EMFs. Again, particular health dangers around that and some of the common sources. Part 6, your EMF health. Lesson number 1, we're going to talk about earthing, a very interesting topic, or again, what we learned on the electric fields in an earlier part of the e-course will really help us understand why sometimes earthing helps some people like a miracle, especially when they do it naturally, and why it's one of the worst, most debilitating things some people have done when they do it using artificial means inside buildings. Very interesting. When you understand how the electric fields work with your body, you can start to see when earthing works and when it harms. In lesson number 2, we'll be looking at some of the EMF products that are out there that you might have questions about as far as are these valid. And we'll also be looking at energy medicine products, which are products that maybe help people with their EMF sensitivity and issues. They don't actually stop the EMFs. And so sometimes we have to be very aware, does this product stop the EMFs, or is it doing something for our body so that we can tolerate the EMFs better? Or heal, which I consider energy medicine products in that category, not necessarily reducing the EMFs. Lesson number 3, putting it all together. Here's where we're going to actually take an example of testing and the solutions for a particular computer. Kind of a demonstration of putting all those things from all the previous lessons together for testing a computer and what you do about it. Lesson number 4, putting it all together again, actual case examples of 9 different homes. So here I'm going to go through 9 different home situations, the measurements that we took at those situations and what we did about it. So you can get an idea of the different kinds of things going on in houses, the different kinds of solutions. Very interesting lesson. Lesson number 5 is just a summary for that part of the e-course. And then part 7 is an EMF summary and bonus module section. And this is very interesting and perhaps one of the most helpful parts of the whole e-course. Lesson number 1 is an hour-long, approximately an hour-long summary of the various EMF sources and remedies. So here I've made a list, basically, pretty much every EMF source I could think of, listed it, categorized it, and then one by one went through for this, like say for a laptop computer. You know, we get all the things you can do. What's the best thing to do? Do you turn it off? Do you shield it? Do you fix something? Do you ground it? What are the options for that particular EMF source? And in lessons number 2, 3, and 4, here's another really interesting example of low EMF construction. I want to give you an idea of the kind of things you can do when you're remodeling or building a new home. This is the case of a remodeled home in San Francisco Bay Area. And I chose it for a couple of reasons, the biggest being it had problems with every kind of EMF. In other words, it had magnetic field issues, and it had electric field issues, and it had radio frequency field issues. So, and we did mitigations in the design and construction to reduce all of those. So in lesson number 2, the first part of this low EMF home remodel demonstration, and basically we show the design details and the results. What are the measurements before and after? And you can really see how well these different kind of modifications worked. In lesson number 3, we're going to look at the same actual client case, but just looking at the details of reducing the magnetic fields and the electric fields. And then in lesson number 4, for this same house, we'll be looking at what we did, the details for reducing the radio frequency fields, all the wireless sources inside and from outside. And yes, we can reduce the EMFs around us, and we can create a more natural and healthy environment for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our clients. Next, I'd like to quickly go a little bit into some of the tips for how to use and navigate this online course. So if you go to our website, EMFcenter.com, hover over the EMF courses, EMF solutions for your health, and go down to the members dashboard. Click the members dashboard. If you're not signed in, it will ask you to sign in. If you are signed in, your course should be listed here already in the dashboard, EMF Solutions for Your Health. If you don't see it, just go over to My Courses, click My Courses, and it'll show up. So we want to click your course, EMF Solutions for Your Health. And this gets you to your landing page. A couple things you can do from here. If you look at the left here, you can see that you can enter any lesson you wish. You can go to part 5. You could say, I want to do the dirty electricity testing and mitigation by electricians, and you can click that, and you could begin that lesson right there. So you can go through the course, whatever lesson you want. We're going to close that. You could also go back. Let's go back here to our landing page again. You could click here to start the for your first lesson, and that'll just take you to the beginning of the course. And right there it opens up. This video is not loaded yet as I'm doing this, but you can start the course that way. You can also go continue where you left off last time. If you were doing the course and you marked lessons completed, you can click here. Let's do that. Let's open up, let's see if we can complete that. I'm going to just mark that complete. And mark lesson 2 complete. So as you can see, after each lesson here, you can go back to a previous lesson, you go to the next lesson, or you can mark that lesson complete. It's really helpful to mark the lesson complete because then you kind of keeps track of where you're at. So we've completed 2 lessons. Now let's go back. Let's go back to our landing page. Okay, here we are back at the landing page. You can look at the left and you can see you've completed lessons 1 and 2 of part 1, and lesson 3 is next. So you could click this lesson 3 that you see here. You could click right here. Click here to continue where you left off last time. And this should take us to lesson 3 of part 3. And there we are, and we can continue. And when you finish this, you can mark that complete, or you can go to the next lesson, or you can go back to the previous lesson. Let's go back to lesson number 2. Even though you've marked it, that you've completed it, you can go back and replay it. So you can choose, there's a lot of different ways to enter into the e-course and select the particular lesson you want. And also it's good as you go through, if you mark, like, let's say magnetic fields here, and say let's look at the additional videos, support videos for part 2. There's all these videos here. They're just taking a minute to load. Demonstration, what causes high magnetic fields in wiring, main cause of high magnetic fields from wiring, a pair of magnetic fields by wiring errors, these kind of videos. When you're done with these, or if you've seen what you want, you might want to mark that complete also, so that the next time that you open this up, you will start at the next lesson for you. And there's another thing. A part of your e-course is access to the live Q&As that I do typically once a month. And you can access that from a couple places. Again, if you go to your EMF Solutions for Your Health, and below the members dashboard, your members Q&A. If you're logged in, this page will open up. If not, you'll need to log in. And basically you can find here the directions for how to submit a live Q&A question, what kind of questions to ask, the recordings. But basically this page, if we scroll down a little bit, here are the recordings of all the previous Q&A sessions. You can click any of these and you can access the previous Q&As from the last couple years. Very interesting. Some people find this very helpful.